So I bought these seats off eBay for £120. I didn't get just the seats though, I got the full interior for £120. So that's the back seats, the door cards and the front seats. All I need is a front seat. Now there's two problems with these seats. One is the height of the seat. Unfortunately these cannot be bolted straight onto the original Iveco basis. They need to be at least another 6 inches higher. And the second is, tip it over on its back, so reveal the control unit for these seats. It's a PECM. Now that controls everything electrical on the car. So there's a light, sunroof, windows, central locking, heated seats, electric seats, everything. And it's just there. Get rid of it. Now if you've got memory seats you will have this control unit. It's underneath the driver's seat. It's a case of removing all plugs connected to it, and it's only mounted on by 2 torque bolts either side. Just remove the tray, be able to put it out a little bit more and see the other plugs that's joined up to it. So we've got one there, get rid of that, which removes that, and a few more at the back. So once you release them 3 plugs at the back, you can take this bracket off which holds the rest of the wiring on. It's only 2 8mm nuts that hold it into place, and that should release the control unit. Now the problem with this, the reason why you can't wire it in, because it relies on an RF signal to wake it up. Now it lays dormant until it sees the key fob. So if you unlock the doors, it wakes this up. So you can't really retrofit it to the van anyway. So each motor's got 2 cables going into it. One cable's for the potentiometer for the memory seat function, and the other one is the main feed to drive the motor. Now these are the ones that you want to be interested in. So I've now removed the control panel from the side of the seats, and the only 2 switches I'm bothered about are these 2 here. Now at the end of the control panel is a big thick cable like so, and the end of that is a plug. Cut it off, get rid of it, which will leave you these wires exposed. And all I've done to work out the wires is use continuity. So there's 2 earths on this control panel, one for each switch, and like I said before, all I used was continuity, so I've just connected up the earth and the seat going backwards. That seat going back. Next we've got here, tilt up, that's tilt up, recline back. That's how I've worked out the wires. So on the other end of this cable I've actually connected up to the vehicle battery itself, so I can test out the motors on this seat. What I want to know on each motor, which way the motor turns. So I'm switching, I'll put the live on first, then put the earth on and see which way this motor's turning. So that seat's going forwards, so that wire will be marked up as forwards. Switching the wires over again, the seat should go backwards, and that's going backwards, so I shall mark that wire up as backwards. So underneath the seat you've got 3 motors you can see and identify the wiring that goes to the motors themselves. Now at the backrest you've got another cable here, and it comes with this plug. Get rid of that and expose the wires. All I did to identify them wires was continuity test the motors again to identify which wire was a motor ones. Or the rest in that wiring loom are just potentiometer wires. All the smaller wires are going to be made redundant. And the one to avoid and not to wire up at all is this yellow cable. Now that yellow cable is for the side impact airbag, so that's just going to be tied up, left well out of the way. That should not have any power to it at all. So this Range Rover driver's seat, it has 5 motors on it. Now we've come to a conclusion, we won't be using this thing. So the way I'm going to wire it up is use a system of relays. I'll be earth switching each motor, polarising each motor so it can go forwards and backwards. Now, I'll be using these 40 amp 5 terminal relays. Now on the front of them there's a circuit diagram showing you what each terminal does, which is numbered on the back. So let me just try to explain to you how this relay system is going to work. Because what you've got to remember, the seat switches on my seats are acting as a switch earth. So this shows the motor running. Now we've got the power from the battery going through the 30 amp fuse, feeding pin 87 and pin 86 on the relays. And it continues onto the next relay, pin 87, onto pin 86 on the next relay. Now that's the power side. Now from that side we'll go onto the next relay, onto pin 87, 86 and so on and so forth. Now this is showing it on the switch position, so the switch is on, which says energize pin 85, the relay coil. So now that's switched into the position downwards to pin 87 to pin 30, which has now power to the motor. Because this relay is now in the rest position, there's no power, switch is not switched on via there to energise that coil. That relay will be always going back down to ground. So that side will be the earth side of the motor. So that's how that motor will turn one way. Now, if the switch was in this position, this side will be ground. So pin 30 will be connected to pin 87.8, back to ground, so that's the earth side of the motor. This gate will be down to pin 87 to pin 30, and that side will be live. And the motor will turn the other way around via the 12 volt feed going this way. So after the video, what I'll do, I'll put a set of photos of the same drawing broken down with the pin locations and what wires should go where. So once you wired up all your relays, you should end up with something like that. Now I've done mine a little bit different. I've actually soldered my wires together and used a bit of shrink wrap just to keep the wires nice and tidy. Now on each relay you should have 2 wires left over, so one will be going to the seat switch and the other one will be going to the motor itself. At the end of the relay bank I'm going to be leaving a tail for the earth and the tail for the live, and that should sit underneath the seat quite nicely. So I'm just temporarily putting my relay bank in. I just want to test out, see if it works before I start soldering the rest of the wires in. So I'm just going to test out the seat going up and down. So in theory, with everything wired up, the seat should go up and down. Excellent, all working. So I'm soldering my last wire, which is my headrest. So that's almost done, soldering wise. There you go. And after each solder I do, I'll just place some heat shrink tubing over it and just apply some heat to it, and it should shrink into position like it is doing now. Now on the white wires on my relays are the cables from the seat switch, and the black ones are the ones that go straight to the motors. So on the passenger seat it's way more simple, thankfully. On the left hand side of the seat, as you're looking at the seat, front end of the seat, there's a plug. Cut all the wires off that, you don't need it. And all the wires you're going to need are on that plug, and all the black ones, and there's 2 black and yellow ones, they're all earths. Now you've got orange and white, you've got 2 of them and 1 white and green. They're the live feed to it. That's all you have to do to get this seat up and running. Far more simple. Thank God. Right, so that's all the cables tied back. Everything's put away nice and neatly. I think it's time to test it. Wow. Right, let's test it out then. So, down. Yep. Up. Yep. Recline forwards. Yes. Back. Oh, just fall asleep in this one. That works. So forwards. Yep. Back. Yep. Turns it down. Turns it back up. Excellent. And my third one. Great. Now the next stage is to fit a base to the seat. So I've been down to B&Q to buy the necessary materials I need for this seat base. But first I need to chop down to size that I need, drill in the bolting holes and dress up the edges. And once I've done that, I've been left with a pile of stuff like this. So this is the original Iveco seat base, and like I said before, it's not high enough to house these Range Rover seats. So what I've done, I've used the original seat mountings and placed in 6 new seat mounting bolts. And to protect those threads and stop the box section from squashing, I'll first place a washer onto the threaded dowel first, then aluminium tubing, just to prevent the box section of the aluminium frame from squashing down once you tighten up with a nut. Now secondly, the reason why I've cut these up are the extension part for the seat base. And it's just a case of sliding these into place. Be a bit of a fiddly job. One. I'll tell you what, I'll fast forward this bit. And there you go. All I've got to do now is bolt the seats all up, make sure it's all nice and tight. Yep, okay, it's a little bit fiddly, but it doesn't involve welding at all. Before I mount this seat onto its new base, I'm going to adjust these brackets here, mounting brackets, because they're all set at different angles. So I marked out where the seat mountings want to be on top of this seat base, so I'm just going to have to drill them holes out. So after drilling out the holes for the seat mounting points, I've used long bolts to physically bolt on this seat onto the base, but I've sleeved off the bolts so it isn't going to crush that aluminium box section. So I can work out where I can get me feed for the seats from. I've gone into the fuse box, and ideally I want it to be an ignition feed, and at the minute there's nothing there. So if I turn the ignition on, there you go, 12 volts. So that'd be a good spot to get the feed for electric seats. So I've now put in the wire, the live wire that goes to the seats themselves. It's going from the fuse box, just running underneath the carpet, underneath here, then go underneath this back plate to the driver's seat, and from the driver's seat it comes back on itself to the passenger seat. Now that's just the live wire. I'm going to be earthing out the relays on the bodywork of the van itself. Great, so now I can fit the driver's seat. if you fit. So there's 5 bolts holding these seats in. I'm just going to leave the bolts undone at the back because that's where I'm going to fit my earth. I'm just bolting in the passenger seat, then I can connect the power supply. So using heat shrink tubing, I'm just shrinking this protective tubing over the solid piece of wires I've just done. Now this is the 12-volt feed wire. One goes to this seat and the other goes to the passenger seat. Now I have also put in my ground, which is connected at the bottom of the seat there. So at the bottom of each seat I have actually made a cover just to cover up the metalwork. I'll screw it in place with 2 screws which will be held into position. Yeah. Excellent, all working. So that's how I fitted my P38 Range Rover seat. Thanks for watching, I'll see you next time.